Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Rolling Out University's Sisters with Superpowers. I am here today. I'm Lorraine Funderburg, business and entertainment attorney, and also holistic wellness practitioner. And I am here with all of these beautiful, lovely ladies who are in the cannabis industry. So I'll do some brief introductions. First, we have Q Nicole Vanderhorst, who is the founder and CEO of WH Farms Co. They cultivate premium industrial hemp and manufacture CBD wellness products. They are also a white label company. So for all of you guys who are looking to break into the CBD business, my girl here is going to get you set up from top to bottom. So, yes, thank you so much for being here, Nicole.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And so we also have Danielle Gray and Brandy Elise. They are the co-founders of, wait, don't let me mess this up. Can you pronounce it for me? Unoia?
World of Unoia. Yeah,
World
Unoia.
of Unoia. Out of
Yeah.
curiosity, what does that mean? Where did it come
Ye-
from?
Yeah, so Unoia means beautiful thinking. And so we didn't want to go with the cannabis flower and things. We wanted to talk about what it actually does for you. So without going too deep, that beautiful thinking. So World of Beautiful Thinkers is what we're doing.
I
And so, of
love
course, we
that.
have beautiful thinkers who are a part of our, whole thing. So, beautiful
Yeah.
thinkers.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, yes, thank you guys for being here. So, their CBD brand is based here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we are so happy to have you guys. And last but certainly not least, we have Mercedes C. Young, who is the sole owner of $1 million cannabis company called Earth's Dew. She had the pleasure of launching during the pandemic and skyrocketing as a company. So that is amazing. All of us were stuck in the house, so we needed some stuff, to keep us calm. So I
Absolutely.
can see, I can see why how that happened. But
Yeah.
yeah, her company's been featured in Forbes, Black Enterprise, iHeartRadio, LA Weekly, Sheen Magazine, and so much more. And now you are here to share the stage with Rolling Out, our lovely audience. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you
So
for having us.
absolutely. So this conversation is one that I love to have because definitely an advocate, connoisseur, all of the things. Um, but I really love that, with all of the legalization and some of the different places that's happening, that, we are now able to be in a space that we were once as Black people, in the community being in prison for, and all of the things. And so to be a Black woman in this space is even just amazing. So I'm so happy that you guys are here. And so I'm just going to ask a few questions. You guys can shout out, and answer as opposed to me picking on you. I'm like, we're not in school, so I won't do that. But yeah, so I guess I will for this starter question. Look, Nicole, I'm curious, it's for you. Like, can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey? Because I know that you definitely had one as to, why you started using CBD and all of those things. So yes, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I think that is so amazing that so many people arrive at this plant through their own personal journey. And for me, it was twofold. My father, first of all, I was in commercial real estate. I was a general contractor flipping homes, and that was like my previous career. Very much so high risk, entrepreneurial. And then I go through the grief of losing a parent. I lose my father. And it unearthed some childhood trauma that just placed me in a spiral. And so when I started to seek mental health and just kind of advocate for my own well-being, there was an idea to prescribe like an opioid plan along with some additional, things to help me to kind of normalize so that I can continue my professional journey. And I just could not I could not sit with taking a pill to function on a daily basis when I had always been able to maintain such like a vibrant nature. And so at the time I lived in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, it was medicinally legal. I asked my doctor, she would make some recommendations, write some prescriptions, and I was able to get into the cannabis world. So I went from being like a kid that was all very anti the plant to, as an adult, a functioning professional, choosing the plant for my own medical purposes. And that process of self-diagnosing, I think, is something that a lot of adults that have gone from being curious to now being very much so advocates of the plant is because we've had these unique experiences. Aside from that, I stood next to the drug era. I have a brother who is in his late 40s that unfortunately caught an 18-year federal sentence, and the only thing he had was an ounce of marijuana. It was a lot of statements and things of that nature written, so that's my childhood, that's my big brother. And so when this world opened up and I found myself in the state of North Carolina, I found that I wanted to get on a different side of it. I wanted to advocate for destigmatizing. I wanted to advocate for accessibility as a grower, as a cultivator. I wanted to advocate for the therapeutic benefits of it so that our elderly can learn more about it. We saw so many victims of opioid abuse in the South. And so all of that combined is kind of like my why, and why WH Farms exists, and why our products, and we spent so much time like creating quality products, not just to white label, even though that is, how we entered the market. It's because we are very passionate about all of the damage that society has done weaponizing this plant. It's like we have a different mission about undoing that within our own way.
Yes, give thanks for that share. That's amazing. Mercedes, what was your story as far as how you got involved with the cannabis plant?
It's crazy because I'm listening to her story and I'm like, does she know my life? Like, did we like live the same life? Are we sisters?
Sisters.
Superpowers. So the same kind of thing. Like my father, he had glioblastoma, which is a rare malignant brain cancer, and he was incarcerated as well. He due to the war on drugs during that administration. So he got sentenced to a 30-year. He was a first-time nonviolent offender, but was caught up in the war on drug game, right? So he got this brain cancer, and at this time he was released, and we were taking him to chemo, we were taking him to radiation. It was just making him really sick and like really lethargic. And I'm like, listen, like this was during the time when Dr. Sebi, I mean, he's still so popular now, but I'm just looking up like all type of natural holistic remedies, because I know that like whatever God put on this earth naturally can be used to get rid of any ailment that there is, right? We don't need this science lab created chemicals that they're trying to shove down our throats. So I started doing more research and I stumbled upon CBD and THC. And I'm like, there's a lot of studies that suggest that it kills brain cells. And I mean, not brain cells, cancer cells, I'm sorry. That kills cancer cells. So I started giving it to him. So I would give him CBD and THC pure oil, right? His tumor started to shrink, y'all. So the tumor was shrinking. He was getting better. He passed away, unfortunately, because of community acquired pneumonia and sepsis of the blood. But like none of that was like correlated to the brain cancer that he had, right? That took me from a fearful, because I grew up in the church and I'm like super religious and like, it was like, don't be consuming the devil's lettuce. So we grew up with this negative stigma that, marijuana and cannabis and all of this stuff was like super bad for you. And when my eyes was open to the power that this plant has, it forever changed my scope. So during the pandemic, I was home and I was just, like I'm a busybody. So I like to be doing things. I like to be active. So like just sitting down doing nothing was not in my DNA. I was getting cabin fever. I was going crazy. And I was like, Lord, I was just praying, like, what is it that you want me to do? Like for you, to honor you and my life and like the people around me. And he literally in the shower, I kid you not, I prayed about it and he gave me this idea. And he was like, spread the good news. So that's how Earth Do was founded, literally in the shower with prayer.
Absolutely. I love it. What about you guys, Brandy and Danielle?
So I feel like Brandy should start because she started it all. So let me backtrack. We have been, we're actually engaged now, but we've been, yes, and we've been growing this business for 4 years, but it actually started with Brandy's dog. So Brandy, you can start with that because I just followed your footsteps on it.
Yes, and there goes one of the dogs now.
I was like, I need to hear this. Look, I just got a dog last week, so look, let me know.
So So now we have a couple new dogs, but the one dog that we're talking about, she ended up passing. But Ruby Rose was soaking wet, 3.5 pounds, toy Yorkie. And she started developing seizures. And her seizures were just so violent that I didn't know what to do, because they were giving her these compounds from the vet that were just extremely large, and they were knocking her out. She wasn't having an appetite or any of the things. And she was terrified to have another seizure again, you know? See, they agree. And Ruby, when I started giving, I was like, well, let me see what CBD can do, right? Because we are smokers in our home, and we're like, well, we don't want to give them like the psychedelic effect. She's already like not present. So we were like, let's try the CBD, and we gave it to her. And I mean, she started perking up. She started trying to walk more. Like, she had the courage. And I was like, well, if this is doing this for her, what could this do for people? Right. You know? And I was like, And sometimes I don't have an appetite, which is why I like to smoke. And so it's just like, it was just hand in hand, inflammation, all the things. And now we have graduated to what initially we had, what is it called? Honey. And I am a voiceover artist. And I'm about to put myself on mute.
I can take it over. I can take it over.
I think they want to be in the show too.
Yeah, clearly, because they always are trying to get in the show. So once I heard about, or we experienced Brandy's dog, I was like, we both were like, well, what does this do for people? Like, this is kind of crazy. So my background is in marketing and branding. So I was like, okay, this is a cool idea. And I'm always here for an idea. Let's make a brand. Let's create a brand to it. And so what we did was we have CBD products for pets. So that's where we were really interested in, and then also adding this element of humans too. And so because we're big brand people, I was like, you know what? I don't want it to just be about the plant. I want it to be about how it impacts their lives. And so that's why World of Eunoia came to be, was that it's about beautiful thinking. So what we do, we have dog walks. We invite people to the dog walks and we give them CBD pet treats. We do yoga. We do like sound baths. We do all of those different things to help people understand, like, this is all together. CBD and THC, it's all just a tool for us to be better. This is just in the toolbox. You need to also take care of yourself. You also need to, exercise. You need to do all those other things. This is not just going to save your life. You have to pull all those things together. So for us, we wanted to, like you said, share the good word. You know what I mean? Like, hey, do y'all know what's going on? Like, do you know what this plant can do? And so from there, we've been doing this for 4 years, and we've grown our business to be, to have human products, so gummies, tinctures, and I'm going to talk to you about some white label products too. We'll talk about that later. But and then the pet products as well. And so that, and all of the feedback we get from our customers is like, this changed my life. Like, I can sleep, and because I'm sleeping now, I'm better. And so it's those little things you realize, if you can start figuring out how to soothe yourself to help you through pain, anxiety, sleep, inflammation. I mean, that is what I believe you can be a beautiful thinker, because you're not clouded by all those other things. So that's really where we came from. And it started with the dog, and here we are 4 years later. And can't wait to come out with a strain called Ruby Rose. That's going to be one of the things. At one point, it's going to happen.
Love that.
I really love that. Especially, I need to know about these dog walks, because I'm in Atlanta too, and I just became a pet mom. So
we got you.
What kind of dog?
It's a poodle.
I wish I had time for a dog. I don't. But one day.
Yes, I'm like, look, we're struggling, but
as long as you know that it requires time.
Because
oh man, it's a whole child. I had one, and I was like, oh, you know what? I can't.
Not about this life.
I get it.
I love you enough to let you go. Right?
Exactly. And it hurt me. I was so sad, y'all. I was depressed for days.
I bet.
But I can't.
But you can come play with ours anytime.
Right.
So sweet. So I know you guys were talking a little bit about the stigma, and we're very aware about, the stigma that marijuana has. And it seems like there's no there's no overcoming it. You know, you talk to people of the older generations and even some of us, you know, in our age group, that conditioning, that programming was like so heavy. But can anybody speak to like what caused the stigma or where it originated? Like what was that initial?
I think it dates back to an era in policy where there was an interest in policing a certain group of people and making sure that certain individuals didn't exist in the country. I mean, from my research, I think it goes back to the Depression, and marijuana was coming in from Mexico. We have these long lines, and, you know, people are looking for free food from the government. And so the government's interest was to get rid of the people that were immigrants bringing in this marijuana. And so what made, you know, these individuals attractive was the fact that they brought in marijuana. So in comes the smear campaign, in comes the bullshit, so to speak, of it being a gateway drug and all of these other things. And when that gets, you know, anytime you put a lie in policy, you know, you're talking about the perpetuation of a real thought process. And so you then have this cross-pollination of policy and Christianity, and us being such a Bible, you know, beating country, and nothing wrong with that. Love Jesus, you know, he is my Lord and Savior, you know what I'm saying? But I'm able to put it in a perspective that you can see how it becomes a pattern and a repeated process. And now we're undoing the pattern. But to one of the points that you made though, Lorraine, I actually think that we are going to overcome it.
All right.
One of the things that I believe in hearing everybody's story is that we are all existing in a season where women are being inspired to bring this plant to the forefront. I feel as led by God with the creation of WH Farms. Mercedes talked about how she received her vision through prayer. Brandy and her spouse are also saying the same. And so what we're finding collectively, even as I white label with other clients, is that women are saying like, no, you got the plant all wrong. It helps me. It makes me a better parent. It makes me more present. And as a result of the female influence over society and just this season that we're in, I think that we're going to overcome that stigma in the next 10 years, especially with media catching on.
Yes, I love that. Does anybody else want to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, she said it all. Like, I agree 1000% with what she said. And that's why, you know, with Earth Due, like, our whole thing is to redefine what cannabis is. Like, you know, in our mind, it's so dark, it's so gritty, it's like Rasta, you know, the all that thing. And we're the home of classy cannabis. That's our slogan. So we're trying to redefine what it is and just really get the benefits out there. I feel like when people truly understand like the real power of this plant, then it'll be less about, oh, let me just get high, and more about, let me heal.
Absolutely.
And two, I'll add to that. I think it's really about the education, right? So like we did this event called It Ain't Weed, right? Just with CBD, because we were focused on CBD. We're in the South. There's, you know, it's very like, oh, I don't do. I'm like, you do, like, stop playing. You know? And so we really have leaned into education and having infographics that describe things, having a live blog that describes how it works in pets, how you can incorporate it in your self-care routines and all those different things. So I think that as we can educate, and also I find it us speaking up and being open about it, because that was my concern. I'm like, am I gonna continue my clients, especially with the corporate side? Can I talk about this? Can I say this? And will this harm my career as I'm building this other business? And I think we have to. And I think as more people feel more comfortable to come forward and say something, I think that's what we was like, oh, I thought we made you slow and whatever, but I'm looking at very capable women talking, and that's not the case. So I think it's that breaking the stigma of us showing up as just who we are.
Yeah.
We'll do that same thing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's also an unlearning, you know, it's like, yes, there's a ton of education that needs to happen, but we also have to unlearn all those other bad stigmas and not habituate them when we see something that's like close to something that maybe we used to agree with, you know, or making someone feel bad. You know, all those little things keep us in the closet, so to speak, about, you know, our usage of smoking. And we need that representation. You know, we need you to be a bit more brave and come out and be like, you know, I do that. And I am okay with it. I want you to know that because I want you to heal too.
Yeah.
You know, so unlearning and education is so needed in cannabis, like on all levels. Because I want people to understand what they're smoking. I want them to understand what they're ingesting. So it's not like, well, I don't know. They just said take 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I want
You
you
need
to
to
care
know.
more
Yeah.
about your
Right.
stuff, you know?
Right.
So that's number one. And we need to care.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I just want to piggyback on something that was said by both the two last speakers about being bold enough to like communicate it. I last year went through a fibroid removal surgery, and I documented my cannabis use with my doctors the entire time. I had them put it in my medical charts. I had them listed, and I posted it on social to let people know, like, let your doctors know what you're taking. They will consider or reconsider your dosage for certain medications in some instances if they're seeing progression. And then when you're preparing for a surgery, for those of us who have smoked in private, you have to come out because anesthesia, it could be life or death. When you're consuming cannabis and you're going into surgery and you're saying, well, let me not tell them that I smoke weed. It has a very weird effect with anesthesia that we have to start promoting in our community a little bit more, because we're seeing people have pneumonia and a lot of things post-surgery. And it's because they didn't want to tell their doctors that they smoke. And it's like, no, tell them because they need to know.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And like I said, I'm an advocate. So I received a lot of backlash from people because I'm an attorney, right? And so I posted pictures on my Instagram with like, you know, pounds of weed. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, she's a little reckless over there, you know, possibly. But I'm like, no, you know, what I do in my free time, you know. But I do like that, exactly what you're saying, like to have that professional Black women who are out here really doing stuff and showing up in this space and saying, I also engage in this activity. And I love also the fact that you guys are bringing the education as far as the healing, right? That healing property that is the plant. And a term that I've even started using instead of saying weed or marijuana is plant medicine. And so that does sound a little bit more appealing. You know, people aren't always sure what you're talking about necessarily because it could be anything, right? But that is part of that, like you said, the unlearning and getting rid of the stigma and replacing it with things that are more tolerable, I guess. But so for you guys, what challenges have you guys faced in the cannabis industry? I know, look, Mercedes is like, oh, Lord. Yes. And how have you overcome them if you have?
Man. Okay. So it was one of those things when I first started the business that like I was already in too deep to quit. That's how much challenges came in. I was well too invested financially, time-wise, but if like I was in too deep. Otherwise, I would have been like, oh no, absolutely not. Like this is just not worth it. But so many things happened within the first 30 days. My merchant account got shut down because I didn't know that it's, you know, not backed, like the banks don't back it. So you're not allowed to run on normal, regular platforms that everybody else will be able to otherwise use. So not to mention my assets were frozen for 6 months. So all this money that I've generated in the past 30 days, which was a lot, now they shut down my merchant account. My website is like, can't take any more orders, and they froze my money. So I'm like, okay, but it's a good thing that I had some other money in reserves in order to keep the business up and running. So I was able to fix that whole merchant processor thing. It took me about a week or two to get back online after spending all this money in the launch and the branding and everything like that. And people are going to the website still, and they're like, oh, I'm not able to place an order. That was a whole thing in itself. From that to advertising, like Danielle, you're in marketing. You know how important marketing and advertising is to any company and to any brand. When I tell y'all, I done had my ad account banned from Facebook, Instagram,
Same.
like they just straight up banned you, girl. They said, you know what? We're not playing with you no more. You keep violating us, and we shutting this down. So, you know, now there's no sense of having this product if you cannot promote it. How am I able to get the word out? Like, yo, listen, like this is what this plant does. I got the keys right here. But you can't do it if one of the major marketing avenues like Instagram, Facebook, and social media is prohibiting you from doing so. But luckily enough, like, I'm an actress, I work in Hollywood, and I was able to have some of my famous friends post for me. So kudos, but they did take those posts down and gave them.
They've been coming for you.
I know I mean, you know, it's so censored. It's so heavily censored. It's not even funny. You can't run any. I tried to purchase billboards. They were like, no. I tried to purchase TV advertisements. They were like, no. So it's only by word of mouth that I was been able to like successfully navigate this world. And I have figured out a way to advertise. So yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the other thing that I would say is, especially as a Black owned, let's just start with Black owned, because there's the woman, there's the LGBTQ plus side as well. But let's just start with Black owned. Since this is already like nobody really understands it, you know, there's this feeling of you really have to show like, hey, here's my lab results. Here's it. Like, there's a lot of I feel like we have to do double to make people feel comfortable. Like, look, we have everything we need. And that's why I'm kind of crazy about it. And Brandy can even attest to how clean the brand must look, because this is plant medicine. It should feel like, it should feel good. It should feel trustworthy, and all of those different things. So that was one of the big pushbacks. Is like, okay, I don't know, girl. Like it's almost like you think I'm out the back of my car trying to sell you something. It's like, that's not the case. But that's why it's so important for us to speak about it. Like, once we start talking, they're like, oh, okay, maybe you. I'm like, yeah, but it's also important for us we have these cartoon characters that we have on some of our products that are pictures of us. And it's our way of saying we're Black woman owned. We don't have to say it. We're not screaming it out loud, but you can see us. And also, we're not ashamed to put our own faces on this brand, because that's how much we trust it. So that was a really big hurdle, along with all the everything that you said, Mercedes, everything, the banking, the all of that. But it was that too, and speaking to our own community of like, hey, you can trust us, and that just takes time and branding and consistency.
Yeah,
I would say the same thing, that echo both points of both businesses. Definitely all of the funding challenges. We launched and they held us for 45 days. We've been kicked out of 3 banks at this point. Our account has been shut down for months on end. So that stuff, right? And then the advertising challenges, which we've also figured out our roads. You have to kind of create your own roadways. We have always had a very education-focused conversation with our brand voice, because we just believe in education, and especially with our elderly community, the more you talk to them, the more they really gain trust and understanding. And so we tend to kind of like, we always led with that as a way to really get the product out. But I think that the unique challenge that hasn't been mentioned is staffing. As I've scaled and as WH Farms has grown as a company, you look for professionals to place in positions to help you really take this forward. But the truth is, even the most seasoned attorney, if they've not been a cannabis attorney, is not the person. Even the best web designer, if they've never had to deal with cannabis advertising, isn't the best person. And so you have to, as a startup, kind of go through these ebbs and flows of trusting, that you are able to get things done, and then kind of having a better vetting process. So we've been, my tagline for our company, we're a corporate cannabis company. So I'm very like operations manuals, COAs, like all of the things, like I'm tight, like I like things super tight. And when we had a recent staff meeting, and I talked to them about just understanding the culture, that we have to make it okay for you to learn with us, because you have to come into this egoless. You cannot think that, oh, this isn't going to matter. That word matters. That word could be the very reason why our account gets shut down. So we can't just overthink like, oh, I've been doing this, but you can't do that. Like, my PTSD cannot afford for you any wrong move. So I think that that's something that, echoing what all of the other ladies have said, that's definitely a thing too, is just finding the right people to help build your dream.
Yeah, no, those are excellent points. And I know I've had, because I project and put out there that I'm an advocate for cannabis and all of the things, and then I'm an attorney. So I've had people who are in the cannabis industry, try to become my clients. And I'm like, this is not what I do. I'm like, I definitely partake, I'm supportive, but I'm like, it's a lot, the different regulations, laws, and the different states, and all. So how do you guys really navigate that too, even with so your products are online and people can purchase them from anywhere, supposedly. But yeah, so how does that work? Like, how do you guys navigate the interstate commerce piece of it with weed not being legal on a federal level?
Well, mine is, go ahead.
I think most of us are hemp-derived CBD, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yes.
So we can travel.
Farm bill, yes.
But mine is a little different too, because I also sell Delta 8 THC, which is only legal in about 33 states. So how I navigate that is I was able to make it in my back-end system that if someone has a THC product in their cart, that they're not able to even check out if we don't ship, if they put in a shipping address that is one of the states that, we can't ship to. So we protect ourselves
Nice.
that way. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the navigation of it. But it's pretty much, it's legal in all 50 states. Like hemp-derived CBD is legal in all 50 states. So we don't have too much to worry about that as well. We can also ship to Canada. So we ship to Canada as well. And yeah, I'm very, because I've been I've been impacted by the federal prison, and, going to visitations for both parents. Like, the last thing that I'm trying to do is be behind bars. Okay. I done had a lifetime of that already from the other side. So I'm not going to go to jail for nobody. It ain't worth it. So for me, knowing all the rules and regulations, the do's and don'ts is like quintessential to my operation. And just like Q said, like putting people in place like that really, but here's the thing, no one really knows what they're doing.
Right.
It's a lot of on the job training, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of trial and error. And that's why I'm launching this thing called the Green Rush Playbook. That's kind of like what Q is doing. That's going to try to teach people how to navigate this world, and you don't have to make all of these mistakes that I've made. Like, you know how crazy it is waking up one day and seeing like your Instagram that had 20-something thousand followers that you worked so hard to build just gone. It's just disappeared. Like, you've been locked out the account. It's vanished. Like, it's crazy. And it's not because of you, but it's because of the people that you hired, that you put into place to run this stuff, but they just don't know.
Right.
And the rules are ever changing. So what was acceptable 6 months ago is not acceptable now.
Yeah.
So it's a very tough world to navigate. And it's one of those things where you can't operate in emotion. Everything has to be logical.
It has
to. You just got to go with the flow and go with the process, and just don't get frustrated. Like this, I tell people all the time, this industry is not for the weak.
Cannabis on deck. If you are planning to come through these waters, bring your plant medicine with you. Don't ever leave home without it.
You gotta be a strong individual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm so happy that I'm sitting here with all these strong individuals who are changing the game and educating our people and bringing more light to this healing plant medicine. So I do have one last question. So how do you think that like the cannabis industry itself could support and empower Black women entrepreneurs and professionals?
Well, we already have seen the fulfillment and the buildup of corporate cannabis, not only in, we saw what happened in Canada, we're seeing what happens in other countries, and certainly in America. And we're seeing that the finances, the resources, the infrastructure is floating and is finding itself, right, in these legalized markets. It's finding itself in certain hands. And I think that, it's kind of like a kangaroo and a kangaroo's baby in his pouch. Pull us up. Pull us up. If you hear that we have 4 different businesses or 3 businesses represented with the same dire startup financial expense challenges, that's not what most Black-owned businesses can stand. And so if there are resources, lending resources, credit or capital resources to help sustain these wholesome visions and desires and missions that these brands that are even represented on this call have, pull us up. If you're getting billions and millions, take $1 million out for us. Don't look at hemp-derived CBD as if we're not a part of this industry. We frankly are your magnet. We can move a lot further than everyone else can. Pull us up. And I think that is what they could do for us. I feel like we can also do a lot for them. We've gotten further than a lot of them have. But without the acceptance of, oh, they are also dealing with these issues, or their bank accounts are also being seized, like without a real conversation, and if our community continues to create a standard of, if you're not perfect, you're not right, then it places us in a very weird space where what we're literally all going through, it can choke us out, and that's not fair. So I think that that's what could happen. I think that they could, really reach back into this particular subsector of the cannabis industry and have a deeper conversation about the value that we bring and work with us to expand us into all of these various markets.
Yes, pull us up, sis. That's what I'm talking about.
You can't even add anything to that. That was perfectly said.
It literally was perfect. I'm in Los Angeles, so we have I'm from the South originally. I'm from Florida, and I totally understand everything. Out here is a little bit different. Like, we're very liberal. Everybody that you know smokes. And it's like an open thing, and we don't have to hide behind closed doors. So much so that when I go to Florida, I'm like, oh yeah, y'all got weed. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot where I'm at. My bad. But they have had some initiatives, but it's just a very small initiative. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, let me allocate maybe 4 out of the 150 licenses to minority owned businesses. But it's not just like minority owned, like, it's like, oh, you have to be a minority owned business. You have to have a prior conviction, a marijuana conviction during these dates. And it's like, and then they eliminate. I've never been to jail, so I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. So I don't qualify because I never got a marijuana conviction. Like, so it's one of those things where they need to relax it just a little bit more to just help the community in general. Just because I wasn't directly affiliated with a marijuana conviction doesn't mean that I haven't suffered from the ramifications, because I've had both of my parents incarcerated due to the war on drugs, right? So I am literally a descendant of it. Everybody is. All of us have been affected in some way or form. And I just feel like they just need to relax the regulations a little bit more, and they need to give us some money. And it's just that simple. Give us the money.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, and I'll tag on to that. I think it's resources and opportunities, because I think sometimes people are like, oh, maybe we need to teach them what to do to get these opportunities. It's like, actually, some of us are at a space where we just need the opportunity. So it's like, let me take advantage of that. And yes, I would love research. I would love to learn more. But I think a lot of times when, especially toward our community, it's like, oh, let me help you, set you up with a mentor. Let me set you up with those. And those are all helpful. But at some point, there has to be an opportunity that with all the resources that I've gotten, I can walk through this door. So I think that if anybody's listening, it's, hey, where are the opportunities, and how can I put these people in this position with the right resources so that they can succeed? Yeah. So I'm here for an opportunity. I think all of us is like, look, we've been through enough. I can take on another. I'm like, what is it? What you got? So it's like that's really, I think this industry has made me such a tough entrepreneur, because it's like, this is not a regular path. We are pioneering this, So it's like it's all of those things. So opportunity at the end of the day is what we need, period.
Definitely.
Yes, I love that. So it's for any parting words, do you guys have any advice for any Black women who may be looking to enter into the cannabis space?
I always have this one quote that I say is, write your goals in pen and your strategy in pencil. Things will change, and it will change. But as long as you have that idea and you know where you want to go, and focus in on that and focus on the big picture, you'll be fine. And you got a couple of cuts along the way. That's what comes with it, especially being a pioneer in this kind of space.
Ashe, give thanks. Do you ladies have anything additional you'd like to add?
I would also just say, to all Black women who are interested in entering into this industry, there's space for you. I think that, it's important for you to know that as male dominated as this appears, the plant is feminine, sis. The plant,
Literally.
right? We are it, and it is very much so a great space. That's something that we've been focusing on with WH Farms. We recently launched the CBDpreneur Academy, and that's what it's been all about. Not making people feel that this isn't for them. Bring your transferable skills to this industry and plant your flag. And there's so many ways to do it. And to not just think that plant touching is the only way. I think that all of these phenomenal brands prove that you don't have to have a dispensary or have a plant cultivate. You don't have to go through those regulations to be in this space. You can just have a powerful brand that heals your community.
I agree with everything that they both just said. The only thing that I would like to add is like, I feel like because this industry is not your regular type of industry, you have to have a passion for it. You have to have a real reason why. There has to be something that motivates you more than the money, because it's not easy, but it is so worth it. Getting those messages, like Danielle said, from your customers saying how, like I got a message from one of my customers and she sent me pictures of her mom walking. Her mom used to be in pain and she couldn't leave the house. They walked and they went out to have dinner for the first time in years. Wow. When I hear stuff like that, it gets me emotional because it's like, this is my reason why. You know, I started this because my dad had his own healing journey. So having a reason why is what will keep you driving, what will keep you motivated. Because if not, it's just all fleeting and you'll get discouraged real fast.
No, I agree. Just to piggyback, to see the look on people's faces. And I started teaching Pilates recently. And the older women that have been using the roll-ons and just different things, they come to life. They're like, oh my God, I can feel my legs again. And that alone reminds me why we naturally go so hard running this business every day. So when you are finding it to be a little too difficult or too hard, remember, it's a privilege for it to be that hard. You know, it's supposed to be this hard. And that's just a reminder that you're alive and you will figure it out, but you have to keep going.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. This was so informative. I learned a lot just being here with you, kind of inspiring me to come out with my CBD body care product line.
Yes.
You know, we have
I gotta work on my story.
Butters and scrubs for you.
Yes.
I'm calling you after this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, so you can find us at whfarms.co. You can actually book a white label call there, and our website, our Instagram is whfarmsco as well. And we, produce and manufacture everything from our legacy farm. And so it's all types of body care, wellness, gummies, tinctures, all of the things, massage oils, all of the things.
Yes.
So you can find World of Unoya is our name, is at World of Unoya, that's UNOIA. And we are focused on mental health, mindfulness, and self-care. So we have human CBD products, while also we have our pet products. So that's where you can find us, worldofunoya.com and World of Unoya on Instagram and Facebook.
Where can I find out about these dog walks?
You know what? Pack a walk. Brandy will get you. That's actually on our in our blog. I'll have it a little bit more out so that you can make sure you find it. But we will have those now that it's not cold anymore. We're starting back up. It's at Pack Walk. At Pack Walk ATL.
So if you're in the Atlanta area and you're interested in taking a walk with someone that has some dogs, or if you don't have a dog, we have people that don't have dogs that come too, and they just want to take a walk with someone, and it teaches the dogs how to behave. Go to Pack Walk ATL and you can check out. I have not updated the list yet because it's been cold, like Danny said, but we will be taking some walks soon, so follow the page.
And I can be found at earthsdew.com, and my Instagram handle is at earths.dew. We cover humans and like the holistic body, and we have everything from smokables to gummies to CBD infused skincare. So we're really passionate about like just our naturalistic, holistic, things that we use. Everything that we use is natural. So we're passionate about that.
Yes, well, give thanks. Thanks for paving the way, opening the door, also bringing the white labeling and the education. I know you said you were about to launch something, Mercedes, because
Yes.
it is intimidating. You know, that's partly
Mhm.
why I was like, even when I had clients who were like, I'm like, no, I'm good. So definitely having you guys out here, definitely educating and providing all of that information to people so that we don't have to make those struggles and can, you know, break into the business a lot easier is just amazing. So you ladies are definitely sisters with superpowers, and I'm so grateful for you guys being here with me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
to meet you guys.
Absolutely.